You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm the bad boy of X-Men podcasting, co-host of the greatest X-Men podcast out there, and a werewolf wearing a person's skin suit and kind of subsuming their whole identity. I'm Zach.
I was wondering, last week we talked about whether you were going to keep doing the bit, and I'm glad it's still happening. This is great.
Again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Bits will continue until I forget about them. Do you think I said reach down into your hearts and pocketbooks as a thing and expected, like, oh no, I need a catchphrase for this? No, I was just making a joke for myself, and now it is muscle memory. That's what it is. At a certain point, you can't hide it anymore, and it just is part of you. It's growing out of you. It is this sharp aspect of yourself that you cannot contain anymore, and it's just bursting from your skin suit.
Well,
because I don't have regular skin, because I am, of course, a werewolf.
Yeah, if real Zach bursts from your werewolf form, that'd be a problem, for you as a werewolf, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
There's plenty of story possibilities, but I'm excited about this episode. We're going to be talking about one of my very favorite X-Men characters. Why don't we say who requested this first?
I don't even know if it was a request. I think it might have been a you pick 'em. I think it might have just been something that we had on a list and we were like, let's do this.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine with me.
I'm going to be honest. Oh no, I know exactly what it was. We had one of our picks that we wanted to do at one point that was an Infinity comic.
Oh, right.
And then we had to bump one of the Infinity comics, and we still wanted to talk about it. So we said, well, let's just write up a list and do a Marrow episode at some point.
Yes. We were talking about Marrow this week. But, obviously, if you do want to make a request, how should they do that, Zach?
Well, they should, as I said slightly earlier, out of context, reach deep down into their hearts and pocketbooks, toss a couple of coins into our coffers over at patreon.com/Battle of the Atom. At the $5 a month level, we'll build an episode bespoke around your thoughts, your feelings, your suggestions. And folks, I'm just going to warn you, people have suggestions and sometimes they're insane. And those are our favorites. So we'd love to talk about some insanity with you. Just like this week, we're talking about some Marrow. Adam, I guess I've been friends with you for a spell now.
Yeah.
Marrow is one of your favorite X-Men characters?
I love Marrow.
You're not even an arcade, like a Marvel versus Capcom guy.
Just to set the record straight, I did play Marvel vs. Capcom in college. That was definitely projected up on a big white bed sheet in my college apartment.
Nope.
But Marrow is an interesting character who's gone through so many different permutations over the years. I remember encountering her originally in Generation X, and then not recognizing her when she came back and realizing, oh no, this is the same character. So we're going to talk about
Marrow.
Yeah.
The thing about Marrow that I find interesting is, much like Age of Apocalypse, she's mostly predicated on the fact that Joe Mad did some really cool designs.
Sure.
Like
absolutely.
That is not. She is in the Omega Red class of character of, oh, this is such a cool design, we should make toys and video games of this.
Well, because the original Chris Bachalo design of her is vastly different than what
Chris designed her originally.
Yeah, in Generation X.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure if she showed up in Gen X or in X-Men original.
She's originally in Gen X, if I remember correctly. And then Gene Nation comes back when Storm basically tears out Marrow's, turns out, second heart before.
Okay. So yeah, no, It is okay. Her first appearance is in Generation X, but it is at the same. Oh no, that's right then. But it. Well, no, her first appearance is in Cable, but that's as I want to say Sarah as like the baby or something, but I'm not 100% sure. And
Well,
then
and
she's
that's
in X-Men
the
Prime.
yeah, that's the other cool thing about this character is that I think her first actual like on panel appearance might be X-Men Prime,
Mm-hmm.
but the backstory of this character, it's one that's been filled in over the years in such interesting ways so that it intersects with Gambit, it intersects with the Mutant Massacre. It then there was the Storm mini series that talked about how Gene Nation was formed. And now the stories we're going to talk about today are still playing around with that a little bit. And I think that's really cool that this character kind of has this malleability to it, aside from just being like a really rad, awesome, insane character. Um,
She's got
so
pink hair.
yeah, I mean,
She's got
originally she's sort of
bones.
just this like reddish, like I don't know. She's very monstery in her original form with
She is.
like a femur sticking out of her forehead. And when she comes back with Joe Mad, just that classic design is so amazing.
It's the design that they did make into a Street Fighter looking anime design, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this rules actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is dope."
Though I would argue, probably my second favorite look for Marrow is the one that we're going to start with our first story. What is this, Zach?
The first story we're talking about is actually from the year of our Lord 2014. It is what I think of as a under-remembered run,
Mm.
but I would say one that probably deserves to be in the conversation a bit more than people give it credit for. This is X-Force Volume 4, 1 through 6. It's written by Cy Spurrier,
Mm-hmm.
with the issues in this arc split up. The first three by penciler Rocky Kim, and the last three by Jorge Molina.
Do you remember how upset people were when the first artwork came out from Rocky Kim? Like
No, I
were
don't really remember that. It sounds
people
like something people would be mad about.
were so upset by what it looked like. I could not believe that. Like, and when you actually get into the series, Rocky Kim brings this like amazing, unique, off-kilter art style that pairs so well with Spurrier's stuff. And then of course Jorge Molina is just absolutely knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, this is Jorge Molina is doing some really cool stuff. He's not at the height of his powers by any means, but this is like building up to that.
It's
But
pretty
Rob,
close. He's getting there.
I'll say from the start, wild pairing of artists on this,
Oh,
like to the point that I'd almost say pick a lane.
it's a mismatch, but it still works. The story is so layered. Um, I remember reading this when it came out and loving it, and I was a little bit worried. You know, obviously, I don't want to say we've turned on Cy Spurrier, but obviously he's written some stuff that we haven't
No,
enjoyed in the
I want to
meantime
say
in the
I want to be
X-Men
very clear,
universe.
and we've talked about this on the podcast. I didn't turn on Cy Spurrier at all. I had high expectations for Cy Spurrier because I knew where he can be at when he is great. And unfortunately, some of his stuff did not hit for me afterwards. Though I do think you'll recall when we talked about both Legion of X and Uncanny Spider-Man, we were like, hold on, were
We
we a
did
little
have
rough
some
on this?
we did have some good things to say, and while
It's
those
possible he just did one bad run and we just don't remember. No, the stuff with Nightcrawler growing horns also wasn't good, but I bet that
but
one just needed some art changes and a little bit more time to develop.
I'm not getting into ranking yet, but I will say that even though we've covered the bulk of his X-Men legacy, with the exception of a few issues, going back to this, I was like, this is some of Cy's like absolute best X work, because this thing is firing on every possible cylinder. There is not a single character or plot line here that doesn't have another layer on top of it. And it's yet still somehow hyper focused and really well executed in every issue of the 6 that we're dealing with here.
I like this a lot. I do think that one of the biggest issues, and probably the reason why I didn't pick this up when this first came out, is I think the first issue, which is a Marrow focused issue, is a it is the wrong issue to lead with. Marrow was I would say the wrong character to kick off this book with, because one of the conceits, and this is not a crazy conceit for a book, is that like for the first 5 issues, I think each one of the main cast members, Cable, Psylocke, Phantom X, Marrow, and Meme, we'll get into Meme later.
Yes.
They all are narrating. Not that crazy. The Marrow one is weird because, one, she's doing a Cy Spurrier speech patterns thing, which your mileage will vary, but her speech patterns things are, one, constantly referring to everything like music and rhythm and rock and roll, which I think comes across as a little cheesy, and also punctuating all of her sentences with baby.
Yes.
Which I understand is a plot relevant thing that we'll get into, but also we don't know that at the time, so it is annoying to read.
Well, he's jumping you into the story in media res, and basically the setup here, appears to be that Cable has yet again set up another paramilitary group. We're going to be protecting mutants, blah, blah, blah. There's this whole sequence in one of the issues where he's lecturing some of the other X-Men. I would argue
his uncle and his father.
Yes. I would argue that's not really the bulk of the plot, though. The bulk of the plot centers around a terrorist attack at Alexandria at a weapons arms convention, essentially, and trying to figure out not only who did it, but Hope was really injured in that attack. And almost all of our characters have some kind of connection to that. Phantom X was there for some reason. Marrow was there for some reason. And it's the mystery around that event and the individual that caused it that is really at the core of the story. There's this mystery along with this mutant named Meme, who has a body, but is also a floating set of drones that Dr. Nemesis creates.
Well, because Meme was hurt in the Alexandria attack, and she can't leave, so she flies around in a drone because she has technopathy powers. The other thing about Meme, again, I would say on the detractors side of this, before we lavish it with praise, which I'm going to do, detractor side, boy, you have to deal with Cy Spurrier's dialogue, and if you do not like his dialogue choices, you will not enjoy this, because wouldn't you know, Dr. Nemesis is also here, and Meme talks weird, and Phantom X talks off, but again, much like Meme and much like Marrow, talks intentionally off as a character voice.
He's broken.
Yes, as a plot relevant thing. I would also say if someone didn't like Rocky Kim's art, I would get it even if they're wrong. There is so much good in this. Heck, when I was just looking up, because I was curious, I was like, I haven't seen Rocky Kim art in a while. I wonder what he's up to. I published an anatomy book. Like,
really?
So like, hey, if you want to draw good, here's how you draw human anatomy.
Yeah.
Like, and he's a very realistic artist, which is one thing that people may not like. Like his art, and he colors himself on this.
Yes.
Very drab, gray, browns, very much if you're around with it, the early 2010s AAA video game aesthetic, the Gears of War kind of looking aesthetic. So much so that his design for Cable in this, it's
Snake.
It's 98% Snake from Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, to the point where I think they make a joke about it in one of the issues.
He looks just like old Snake from Metal Gear Solid 4, a game that I have not played, and I'm pretty upset about to this day that I've not played it because I do not have a PS3, and they, for some reason, can't remake PS3 games easily.
That's weird.
I loved Metal Gear Solid. We haven't gotten into this in the podcast very much, but I got a lot of feelings about the Lale Lule Low. I've got a lot of feelings about Snake Eater. In fact, I was thinking about Snake Eater recently, just like, man, that was such a good game. I love that game so much. Regardless, I could see people not loving his stuff. I think the Marrow design, interested on what appeals to you about that design so much, because it's one that I think, like, I look at it and say I get, but it doesn't spark joy within me.
Oh, see, I think that the aesthetic of this book, I mean, all of these characters are broken in some way. You know, we're going to spoil this. So if you haven't read it and you want to, go read 6 issues, come back. But, you know, we're dealing with a situation where Cable is essentially dead. Like, he's reanimated every 24 hours for 2 minutes while they create a clone and transfer his consciousness into a new body.
He's gotten a virus in him, not a technical or organic virus, which is a fun little link.
No, an extra dimensional virus.
He has another new virus that kills him at the end of every day. So he keeps cloning himself.
Yeah, Silik is dealing with her murder addiction. You know, she's counting down the days, which is an interesting premise for one of the issues.
Interesting, I would say, leaning on the fact of, leaning a little hard into, okay, sigh. Murder addiction's not real.
You've got Phantom X, who has recently been split off into, you know, Cluster and whatever the other Phantom X personality was.
Phantom X, Cluster, and Charlie 7, I think.
Yeah. So he's broken.
No, it was Jean-Philippe, I think it was.
His like fake French is slipping. He's a mess. And here you have Marrow, who has no idea really what's been going on for a large portion of time. Clearly was
in publishing, because I think that's an important thing that lets this happen with the character. Marrow hadn't showed up in a spell. She was in a Peter David X Factor story for a little bit with a group called X Cell. But since M Day, she just had not shown up.
Well, and this is an important plot point to, like you said, she was depowered on M Day. So how is she here? How does she have her powers back? And why does she keep having this inner monologue where she's addressing somebody as baby? And the look that she has, to come back to your question, of her pink hair kind of being pulled back into a little top ponytail on the one side, and then the entire other side of her head being shaved into, you know, a crew cut, and the headband, and she just kind of looks like she's in the military rags of, you know, Cable leftovers. And yet, you know, she's got kind of like a raver look to her, right? She's got a cutoff shirt. She's shown wearing like a bathing suit bikini underneath it and one of the really coolest feature issues of hers that Jorge does. And then is also wearing these like camo, almost raver pants. Like it's a cool look that really fits this story, because what we're going to find out is that Marrow was experimented on by the big bad of these first 6 issues, this guy named Volga. And he's claiming that even though she was pregnant, that she volunteered to be experimented on. We will find out later that that is incorrect. But that is who that inner monologue is directed at. And all of these stories have like a darkness and also a real light touch in terms of like the book is simultaneously very dark, but also funny. And
There's
works.
A character in this, and she's a minor character, and her name is Anise. And it turns out she wasn't created for this book, but it's weird for her to be used in this book. She has the power to control cats.
Yes.
She's a mutant with the power to control cats. She rules, and I wish she was in more things.
Well, and she's here specifically so that Cy Spurrier can use Phantom X and this character to do a very extended, almost half an issue joke about Pepe Le Pew cartoons from Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
And that's committing to the bit, you know?
It's committing to the bit complimentary.
Yes, it works. It's very, very funny.
You know, J. Michael Straczynski came up with this character. I'm learning so much about her.
Oh, that's great.
She rules, but like, this is a weird book. And I think on one hand, it can be funny. Like after this fight, like Phantom X is screaming into the air about how he is the greatest guy in the world because his broken mind has to believe that he is the best. Because hey, the weird thing about this Phantom X is that the good spy and like cat burglar thief stuff that actually went with Lady Phantom X,
Right.
and the tough mercenary guy went with evil Phantom X. So who is this guy?
Great
He was
question.
supposed to be like in End of Rick Remender's run, he was the boyfriend version of Phantom X, but that sucks.
Well, and he's asking everybody out. He's pestering Psylocke. When he can't get Psylocke to go out with him, he's asking Marrow to go out with him. When he can't get Marrow to go out with him, I think he asks Cable out to dinner. He just wants somebody to go out to dinner with him.
He does straight up just kiss Dr. Nemesis in
He
this
kisses
book,
Dr. Nemesis.
which I had forgotten about.
It's great.
Hey, it's bad when Dr. Nemesis is the most mentally stable person on your team. That's a bad look. But I mean, this is a smart book that is talking about their surveillance state. It is talking about the type of people who would dedicate their life to doing mercenary work and the violence that comes with it.
Mhm.
It's a really interesting book, a really weird book. And I think it's one that people sleep on. There's some elements to it in the overall plot that I think are a little iffy. That aren't in this run, specifically with Meme and Phantom X, that I think not
haven't
great.
aged. That's not terrific. But I almost think we might have talked about that on the show before.
We talked about that because we've covered the last arc of this, but we haven't talked about the issues where that like occurs and starts up. It's a weird thing, but I don't think it's weird if you think about it too hard and try and make a comic book make sense that inherently can't.
Yeah. What is really interesting, though, is because there's that issue where Cable is talking to the other permutations of the X-Men at the time, I will say that this is a highlight, I think, of 2014 X-Men. Like,
I would actually... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to think of, like, what were the... Like, you've got Uncanny Avengers?
Uncanny Avengers was still going on in 2014.
We're still wrapping up All New.
No, it might have moved over to the second batch of Remender issues. No, this would have been pre-Axis because this book came out at the same time as All New Dupe, as Magneto, as the Cyclops and Storm and Cyclops Storm miniseries. All New X Factor. Like, they had a good amount of stuff that was coming out right here.
Yeah, I mean, we're still wrapping up the Bendis era, but, you know, I really do think that compared to something like Peter David's All New X Factor, like, this is starkly original. It is really interesting. It's just doing something that when I revisited, was deeply enjoying. And
yeah, it's a heck of a lot smarter than most books out there.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. So I think this is going to do okay here. Let's take a look at our big old list.
Well, that's the beauty of this show, Adam, is that we're going to know exactly how okay it does because we do have a big list that is looking at every X-Men comic ranked from best to worst of all time. The best X-Men comic we, of course, know is House of X Powers of 10. That's at number 1. At number 250 on our list is that arc of Wolverine and the X-Men where Kitty is pregnant with the Brood, and man, it's because we named that arc on this list Prego Brood that we have to think about that part of it every time, and that's weird.
Yeah,
it's just weird visuals there. Exiles Volume 3, 1 through 5 is at 500. At 750 is NYX No Way Home. At 1000 is X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse, the tie-in comic prelude. And the worst X-Men comic of all time is the 1071st comic on our list. It's 2099 World of Tomorrow. Adam, you had highlighted what's at 300, which I think is an interesting comparison piece.
Cable and X-Force 1 to 5, the first arc of the Dennis Hopeless arc, which I think both of us really enjoy, is at 300. At 297 are the 3 issues after that, 6 to 8. I enjoy Spurrier's X-Force a little bit more than Hopeless's, and I really do enjoy Hopeless stuff
I do
on
too.
that book. So I think this is a top 300 book.
Well, yeah, because at 260 we have Us versus Them, which is the end of this run. So yeah, I'm more than happy to push this up. How do you feel about this compared to Us versus Them?
The way this finishes is absolutely insane, but I also think that this is a very strong start to this book.
I'm trying to think if it's a. I agree that it's a strong start. It's also a pretty like strong finish, I feel.
It is. I mean, it's a wild, very busy, like insane finale. I just think, setting up a book like this with the protagonists and with as much happening and to still make it have clarity is not easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would give the edge to the first 6.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I would say I have a ceiling on this. At 219 is Wolverine Snicked, and at 220 is Assault on Weapons Plus, both of which I think are stronger than this. Also at 221 is Exchange Students 101, the Marvel Avengers Assembly book, which is better.
I would say that's better. I would also give the edge to 229 is Cable, Blood, and Metal. It's certainly a much simpler and dumber story, but I think that's a little more classic.
This is, though, I would say, better than at 234, Uncanny Avengers 18 to 23 from the Duggan run where they destroy the Red Skull's brain. Well, yeah. Charles Xavier's brain the Red Skull stole and put into his own head.
I think this is better. Yeah, I would. I would actually put it. We talked about fan comics a couple episodes ago. At 231, we have John Allison's Kit and Wolf. I think I would put this above that, but still below the New Mutant Summer Special at 230. Take that.
Listen, this is a pretty good run. People should read it if they haven't. There's a lot of smart stuff happening in this run, and I like smart comics, and I think more comics should be smart. Now, on an unrelated note, let's talk about the next story on our list.
Are you suggesting that Scott Lobdell and El Garza's Spider-Man Marrow from 2001 is not smart?
Adam, I know you were alive during this time, as was I, but you were more involved in the comic buying conscious.
Sure.
Why does this exist? Why is this a collector's item number 1?
To answer your question, Zach, I strongly suspect that this issue exists because of Uncanny X-Men number 346. It's an Operation Zero Tolerance tie-in issue.
That's right.
And Marrow is fighting Spider-Man. It is a really great dynamic Joe Mad cover. And I think they're probably just looking at that in the offices and going, yeah, do that again. Do that again. Unfortunately, this story, not the same. We don't have Joe Mad, and it's this makes some choices that I don't love.
So let's talk about the first thing that happens here. Spider-Man's trying to go on a date. Now, dear listener, you may have in your mind, but Spider-Man was married to Mary Jane ever since I was a baby in the 90s. No, it turns out everyone always hated that inside Marvel editorial offices, and people forget that Mary Jane blew up on an airplane for a little bit, and it turned out she had faked it or blah, 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 something, so that Peter could be single again for a while. That was people had done it. Trust me, selling their marriage to the devil was the way that they could be like, but now Mary Jane gets to stay as a character in our book.
Right.
And wild. Peter, also I get it. That's fine.
Peter is a professor here.
I don't need them jumping into our mentions.
No, that's okay. But this does get weird because Peter is a professor here and he encounters an alternate version of Marrow.
Peter's a graduate student. We have to be so clear.
He's a graduate student, but he's teaching classes, is he not? He's being called professor.
That's true. He's
in a position of
Peter is in a position where he shouldn't date his students. However, it is a much different dynamic when he is a graduate student dating a undergrad who is slightly younger than him and does not have real authority, because there is still authority above him that controls like her grades and all this stuff. I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying this is not the worst power dynamic that you could be imagining right now.
It's not the worst.
I would
It's
assume
also
it goes against New York, NYU or whatever fake universities like professional guidelines are. I assume it's actually saying we strongly recommend you don't do this.
Yeah, I think it's bad all around. But we are introduced to Sarah Rushman. Now, in actual continuity of Marrow, she does not have an actual last name.
Which
her
makes
name,
sense. She's a sewer child.
exactly. Her name is Sarah originally. But this version of Marrow has been brainwashed by Shield to be a murder person. She's doing hits for Shield and disguising herself somehow. It is completely unexplained. Maybe it's an image inducer. I don't understand it. She has no bony protrusions whatsoever. And then when she is Marrow, she's talking completely out of character in the third person, which Scott Lobdell should know better. It's really weird.
Scotty, I believe you invented or helped invent this character, so I get that you're allowed to like feel like no, Marrow would do that, but maybe she wouldn't.
I don't know.
It's bizarre.
And it's a weird story because, it's like Spider-Man trying to stop Marrow from killing people at the same time that he's like, gosh, I really wish I could go on a date with who turns out to be Marrow.
That's a very Spider-Man thing to do.
Sure.
That's
but
a
in the
deeply
context
Spider-Man story.
Yeah, but in the context of this story with this character, it's weird. Like,
It's so weird.
Yeah. I also, El Garza's okay. He's clearly influenced by some of, the same art that Joe Matt is. But he also does very weird things, like some of the most body horrific abs you've ever seen on a character. And like, just, I don't know. There's something, most of the issue looks fine. It's a nice cartoony kind of, manga influenced look, but I don't know. At some points it fails. The story is really the problem here, though.
The story is worse. The thing is, because the story is incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Why is she doing this? I don't know. They
Mm-hmm.
say it's for her own benefit so she doesn't murder other people, but that seems
weird.
It's weird. Also, Spider-Man seems like weirdly okay with S.H.I.E.L.D. doing this.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to care so much. And it's also not resolved. I feel like we don't cure Marrow in this story, do we?
No, she jumps off a bridge and to get away from S.H.I.E.L.D. mind controlling her. And the next time we see her, like 2 years later, a different Black Ops organization has recruited her to do Black Ops things with
so stupid
promise of fixing her. In that case, making her pretty looking.
Right.
Which, again, they are the bad guys. Like,
yeah.
You're supposed to look at that and say, no, Marrow, you're beautiful just the way you are because you have great hair and like a body that was designed by Joe Mad. Like, no, you're an objectively attractive person when you don't have bones sticking out of your jaw. It's just like, if you're into that, that's fine. But that is a real turnoff of mine is externally exposed bones. I don't think I'm weird for saying that. That's not where bones are supposed to be.
Here in the real world, I think you're absolutely right. I do think that this is probably the worst version of Marrow, like it doesn't make sense. Though I do want to say that in the issue of Gail Simone's Uncanny X-Men today, Rogue claimed that Spider-Man was her friend. And in my mind, that really raised an eyebrow because I in my mind, I was like, wait a minute, but Marrow has more of a relationship with Spider-Man than Rogue ever did. So I don't know.
Adam, I'm going to ask you this right now on the spot.
Yeah.
Can you name an issue where Rogue and Spider-Man have one conversation?
No, that's why I was confused.
One single conversation. I also cannot.
I double checked with the Slack to make sure they weren't Avengers at the same time.
No, I know they were not. Well, okay, they were not on the same team. Well,
They weren't.
Rogue was on Uncanny Avengers for a minute when Spider-Man quit in the first issue of the Jerry Duggan run.
Right. And she was a legit Avenger a while later, but Spider-Man was not part of that roster.
Wait.
No
Oh,
Surrender.
during No Surrender. Yeah.
Yep.
That was tying it. Okay, yeah. Man, I don't know. And of course, Uncanny Avengers, but blah blah blah. Spider-Man wasn't in that. Man, that's weird.
I like the fact that despite how much I didn't like this issue, I do like that Marrow and Spider-Man have like this weird kind of like connection.
Spider-Man should be friends with more C-list X-Men. I don't want
Yes.
Spider-Man and Wolverine to be friends. I do want Spidey and his amazing friends, but it's Spider-Man and Marrow and Nate Gray.
Yeah, that sounds
would be
great.
good, actually.
Yeah. This is nowhere near as good as that Cy Spurrier book.
Because here's the thing. Hold on. Because here's the thing. Can you imagine Spider-Man being like, I would love to hang out with all of my mutant friends. And he's like, Firestar and Iceman, let's go. And they're like, we're only friends because of that one cartoon, but inertia has brought us together. And then he's like, and then let's team up with our other best buddies, Nate and Sarah. And they're like,
who?
Firestar absolutely does not know who Nate Gray is. Probably doesn't know who Sarah. No, does know who Sarah is because because they weren't up for election at the same time, so has no idea for Krakoan election.
I mean, she was an Orcus double agent, so she may have had to know who Marrow was.
She may have later figured out, but you think they were keeping tabs on Marrow?
No, she's very dangerous.
Marrow, she loves to start. Marrow loves to start a black ops organization and be a terrorist.
Yeah.
She loves to do that. She's incredibly ineffective on it. It turns out, do you know what bones do really frequently, Adam?
Are you about to say break?
Yeah, they break.
Not her, not Marrow's. That's actually a huge plot point in the next story we're going to talk about.
It is. But yeah, no, they don't know. They don't know. Iceman does know who Nate Gray is, but he's not happy about it, and he would not hang out with the man. This is a bad comic.
It is, and
if you haven't read it, and you're like, "Well, it's an X-Men comic I haven't read," and you want to go out of your way because it's kind of weird. You're fine.
I'm gonna segue from what you were just talking about these D-listers. Down at 920, we have Amazing Spider-Man 420. 'Twas a Night Before X-Man, and I think that's better than this.
Yeah, no, that. The hashtag 420 Blazing Spider-Man is better than this. I love that Nate Gray was in the 420 issue of Spider-Man. And it was a Christmas issue.
So weird.
Oh, it's so good. I love Nate. He's not a good character, and anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you. But I love him. He is... I don't want to read any comics about Nate Gray. I want to think about Nate Gray, though.
How do you feel about this compared to Spider-Man and X-Factor Shadow Games?
Where's that at? Where's Shadow Games?
That's at 972. I kind of think this might be a little better than that.
I'm going to be real with you. I don't remember much about Shadow Games.
It's pretty bad.
I've read it multiple times. It has slipped out of my mind. If you're going to say this is better than Shadow Games, which is fine, I'm going to put a hard ceiling on this. And I don't love this hard ceiling, but it is right. X-Women at 969, nice, is better than this.
I would agree. I would say at 970 is the X-Men Unlimited Volume 2, Number 1, Trick or Treat with Scott and Emmett. That's not good. This is probably a little better than that.
Fine.
All right.
I have no strong feelings about anything at this part of the list.
This is a tough one because the character doesn't feel like Marrow, and so it's kind of inconsequential. But it is a different take on the character, as was Cy Spurrier's, as is this next version of the character that we're going to look at, which is also from the most recent version of X-Men Unlimited, the Infinity comic. Zach, what is this?
This is X-Men Unlimited, number 75 to
79 is the
79. It's called Unbreakable.
Mm-hmm.
She's alive, damn it. It's about that was Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt joke. You ever want to think about Netflix shows from a decade ago? Because I am. I
Wow.
never finished that. I remember liking it, but feeling like it was a lesser thing for some reason.
Mm.
Uh, Regardless, this is by Zach Thompson with Philip Seafy on art. Zach Thompson, a personal favorite. Speaking of Nate Gray, those are the Nate Gray comics that I will read, is the one Zach Thompson wrote. If you like his stuff, go check out Cemetery Kids Run Rabid. I believe the first issue is just about to come out.
Mhm. Pretty
Like
exciting.
So, or did it already come out? I read Cemetery Kids in trade. I apologize, Zach, if you're listening. I'm sorry.
So this particular arc of the Infinity comic involves Marrow and Feral chasing down a group of Reavers who are working for everybody's favorite character. I feel like we just talked about him. That's right. Dr. Max Frankenstein.
All the things about how much they are the fail kids and don't make sense, I agree with. This is an oddly, like, I'm kind of into this use of Max Frankenstein because what Thompson does here is leans into the body horror of
Yes.
both Marrow as a character and like the fact that, hey, well, we have a guy who has, I say Frankenstein powers, but that's not powers. That's just being a weird little freak who does science. And you have a bunch of mutants just leaving their dead bodies around.
Yeah. And Max is collecting them and selling them on the black market. This is the same. Yeah, this is the same auction house that Beast tried to sell Wolverine's adamantium skull at. And they get on this case, Marrow and Feral, because this is insane to me that he starts it this way.
It makes sense, but it's like, oh, that's a swing.
Yeah, is that these Reavers that Frankenstein has try to kidnap Leech and Artie. They do capture Leech, and in doing so, cut off his fingers, which then Dr. Frankenstein decides to wear as a necklace.
Well, Zach Thompson loves body horror.
Yeah, that's gross.
It's gross. It also does, because Artie and Leech are the best children, and we all love them. It does immediately set the stakes of, oh no, these guys got to be destroyed. Like, yes. Oh, they hurt our sweet little boy.
Yeah,
they hurt our special boy. They have to die. And here's the thing about Marrow. She is like, no, Morlocks are going to look after their own. Fine about Krakoa and all this stuff, but like, we also know that we got to stick together. And we're going to do that. And you don't screw with our Morlock friends. So that's what she does. She teams up with Feral, who, this is what I really like about this. You mentioned the auction house. Mm-hmm. The Reavers are in this. Feral and Marrow having a weird relationship on Krakoa. That's part of not regular continuity. That's part of Marvel Voices continuity. Which is real continuity, but is telling you that Zach Thompson was a real one when it came to Krakoa and stuff. Like he was a freak like the rest of us. Like, oh no, I'm digging all of this.
So he knew what was going on.
Pulling the weird stuff out of this, like Feral and Marrow and they were roommates. I love it.
Yes, and all Feral really wants is for Marrow to pay attention to her. I do think Feral is a little bit not. Feral is historically a very aggressive character, and here she is a pining girlfriend in a way that feels just a little bit too cute.
A little, but I think you need to have some dynamic that's different between one angry chaos person and another violent angry chaos person.
Yes. I want to talk specifically about two things. One is Seiichi has done quite a bit of work with these Infinity comics. Mm-hmm. And I want to compliment Seiichi's work on this because one of the things that happens in these Infinity comics is that the artists who do them sometimes don't really play with the dynamics of the format. We've talked about this on other episodes. CV is doing some really interesting things with movement in his artwork. A character will get punched away and then fall down, and you will track them as you are scrolling up and down with your phone. So there's movement to what is happening. He makes your eye follow the dynamic. Now,
but
CV's
not in a gimmicky way. And I think that's
no,
important. Like, Jonathan Hickman was doing a bit when he wrote that first X-Men Unlimited Infinity comic and was like, and now Wolverine falls down a very, very long shaft.
yeah, it feels natural to the story. And there are multiple occasions where he's exploiting the actual format to tell us an interesting story, I think. Where I think he's taking his biggest risk, and I don't know if this was a conversation that Zach and Philip had together, but Marrow has a vastly different appearance here in terms of what she looks like to what we might have been used to with past artists. And I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts on that are, because this version of Marrow is a little bit taller, a little bit maybe ganglier, still using the same costume premise of like the greens and the purples, but this I'm trying to think about how I want to talk about this. It almost feels a little bit more masculine in the presentation of what this character looks like and what the character is trying to represent.
It definitely is a bit more of a masculine look, but I don't know how much of that is really coming from like the same type of look that Callisto has. Like it is an 80 mask punk type of vibe when it comes to it. She has the Morlock jacket. She has the vest, which is probably doing a lot of the work there. But also like she has very sharp features now. Like she has specifically a bone jutting out of her chin bone, which adds a different silhouette and a different vibe. And I like it because it walks that fine line between, that Joe Mad design, which is, people would be like, oh yeah, she's a grotesque. No, she's sexy. It's a sexy design. The Joe Mad one is a sexy design with the more monstrous type of designs that you've seen with her. And I think it runs a really cool line of, hey, this is her embracing that she's a mutant. Part of it is that for her, even though like she can retract her bones in some cases, like she is being visually a mutant and using her mutation as part of her fashion, which is really cool in this.
Yes.
Like there's a lot that I like because this costume is doing a lot of visual storytelling.
Yeah, I'm just flipping back through the Women of Marvel Voices issue from 2021, and it's interesting because what CV is doing here is still even radically different than what the art looked like in that particular
Was that a
short
Sophie
as well.
Campbell? Was that a Sophie Campbell comic?
Yeah, I believe so.
That one was good. I remember that one.
Yeah. So where I think this works is the basic premise of what Max is doing and the revenge plot line. I also just think it's kind of light. It's basically probably about 1 or 2 issues worth of adventure, and then it's over. There's Zach is also writing in this point about how Marrow says her bones are unbreakable, and yet Max is able to do it. He's able to break one of her bones with the help of Leech's powers, and it factors into the revenge. And then at the end, really what she really needs to do is learn the power of friendship. And that there's nothing wrong with that. It's a little goofy for these characters who are like murder machines,
It is, but look at specifically where she chooses the power of friendship. It is with a community of people, specifically the Morlocks who have been through it. Who's she hanging out with? Artie and Leech. Yes, Artie is not a Morlock, but Artie's a Morlock. Artie has been welcomed into the family because he's Leech's best friend.
Right.
It's Bliss, who is a weird little freak that I have to imagine. Like, I hate Bliss. I got nothing for it because she's got that alien mouth.
Who is wearing a bow tie.
Very funny. Very funny. It's Bliss. It's Farrell, who's a Morlock.
Mm-hmm.
It's Chamber, who is not a traditional Morlock, but absolutely was part of the Morlocks and led the Morlocks during Rosenberg's run.
Yep.
Like, she's surrounding herself not with, I'll be friends with anyone, but I will open myself up to these people that have some of the same lived experiences as me, and that at this point now I can let my guard down a bit. And I think that's what's important, is showing a bit of character growth. It's like, hey, I can't just be the Wolverine-esque loner forever. I've got to embrace that I have a roommate who wants to connect with me. I have to embrace that there's other people that like know what I've been through, even if they weren't on whatever Mikhail's thing was, the step or whatever that thing, the hill. It was the hill. Like, I like that. I think that's a good little beat. I bet she was probably friends with Leech. She was Leech's age in the Mutant Massacre. She's Leech's age.
Maybe. It's possible.
She would have been friends with how many
How
children?
how old is Leech now?
It doesn't matter.
Is Leech always just a little kid?
Yeah, Leech. No, because Leech is. I think that the oldest anyone has ever drawn Leech has been 13 years old, and that was near the end of Generation X, and they absolutely reverted him back to like 7.
Yeah. I feel like he's maybe a little bit older in Future Foundation, but
I
still
would have to go back and read Future Foundation. It's been a bit because Franklin's like 8 or 9 in Future Foundation stuff.
yeah.
Is he still Franklin's can't be 9 because my oldest is 9 and Franklin is less mature than my son.
So we do have
Birthday's a really important thing. I bet I could just look at like the 3rd issue of that run and tell you how old Franklin was. We're not going to.
All right, so let's start with one of the other X-Men Unlimited Infinity comics that you and I both enjoyed, and that it's down at 431, and that is the Fall of X run, which is 121 to 142. I would say I think that was better.
I think the Fall of X run has the space to do more.
Yes.
And that is where it shines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there is more that Thompson could do with this stuff, but just doesn't get a shot at doing it because there's only so much time that you can do. However, at 438 is Eni Come Home, which is the Maggot story that Alex Packnadel does.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're like right on par with that. Like in my mind, I like to see the art in this a lot better.
Yeah. But I think that the Maggot story is more successful in its emotional beats. You know, it has a couple extra episodes, so it gets a little bit more room to breathe. I do agree. I think CV's art is doing more than what the art in Eni Comes Home did. Mm-hmm. So we're in the right place. I mean, this is not as low. I want to call this low because this is like the middle of the list. At 543, we have the unofficial X-Men, which is the arc that comes right after this.
This is more successful than unofficial X-Men for sure.
I would agree. So we have a window here. I guess it's like, where are we going in the 400s?
We are above 447 Uncanny X-Men Love Lorne. That's okay. From the Fraction run. Is this better or worse than the Kid Omega run from Percy's X-Force? That's a 445.
I think they're oddly similar. I think I did enjoy this more than Sabretooth War at 442.
Okay, then we'll put it above that. I would say, and I like U.S. Avengers, this is more successful than the Archie arc of new U.S. Avengers.
Yeah, but I don't think it's as good as at 440 to Save the Savage Land, Uncanny X-Men 114 to 116.
Zach, Phillip, I'm sorry. You are getting slotted in right below a Claremont Byrne comic. I hope somehow in your hearts you can find your way to forgive us.
All right, so at 441, that is Unbreakable, X-Men Unlimited Infinity Comics 75 to 79.
You should go check that one out. I would say it's quick, easy reading. If you listen to this podcast, I would bet you have that app, so you can go do that.
It really does make me happy that some of these, fan favorite characters did get spotlighted in that format, because, they don't
Yeah.
always get to hang out with the A-listers, and they got their own focus stories. And I thought that was
It
great.
ruled.
Yeah.
It ruled, and it's something that I miss because Krakoa gave you an opportunity to do that where you didn't have to jump through hoops to establish why am I doing a story about this character. It's like we all live here. We all have new things going on, and we all at minimum have a new dynamic. Let's figure this out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Adam, what do you got going on? That was a good episode. I had fun. I didn't know how much fun talking about Marrow would be, but I had fun. What do you got going on?
Marrow's great. What do I have going on? I did a commission for you. I remember.
You did a commission for me.
An Ohio State Wolverine cover, which I thought was a lot of fun.
I made Adam redraw a Todd McFarlane cover for me, and it is sitting proudly in my office right now.
You framed that at remarkable speed, like within hours. I was
it was my
mesmerized.
wife. I sent her the lossless JPEG. I'm just kidding. It was fine. It was fine that you sent me a JPEG. I'm not mad about it, Adam.
Do you not like JPEGs? You're not a fan?
Adam, I'm just giving you a hard time. I believe more people prefer a TIFF or a PDF when it comes to their high quality stuff. I don't care. I think JPEGs are funny.
If you need anything converted into other formats, I have many that I could convert them into.
Adam, I figured you could get me the highest definition image. Here's what was going to happen. If we printed it out, and it's like, oh, this JPEG's a little lossy. I would have been like, hey, Adam, can you shoot me over a glossy PNG?
I'm not sending you really pixelated crap. That's not what I. That's not.
I didn't say you were. Do you think I know what a JPEG is? Come on,
man. What else is going on? Austin and I continue to review Uncanny for Comics XF. It is our burden, and we continue to do it.
You can quit anytime. I did, and honestly, I have so much more free time.
It's fine. We have a good time, and we're glad that people check that out on the website. And that's about it. Zach, tell people how they can make requests and what we got going on next week.
Well, if you want to make requests, you can go over to patreon.com/battletheatom, reach deep down in hearts, pocketbooks, toss a couple coins in our coffers at the $5 a month level. You get to help us come up with an episode. I think that's really fun because otherwise we're left to our own devices. Adam, what was that other question you had for me?
What are we doing next week?
Folks, we're talking about that time that Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy did that thing, and Adam's very scared.
I am, but it's going to be a really good conversation. So
I do believe that it'll be a productive and beautiful conversation based around a weird event in everyone's life that we're all processing in different, unique ways, and have been for 24 years.
Yep.
But until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survive the experience.
Get it!